There seems to be no middle ground with Erling Haaland, does there? He's either unbelievably brilliant or he's not quite doing it and the team are not functioning. I keep looking at he's got 26 goals in the Premier League. Jamie Carragher speaks about Marcus Rashford in the paper today and says that Player of the Year, he's a threat to Haaland. And I'm thinking, well, yeah, but Haaland's got quite a lot more goals than him. He's got 12 more. Yeah. Now, that's quite a lot, 14 to 26, quite a lot of goals. And yes, Marcus Rashford's in an incredible vein of form right at this moment. But I don't like the Haaland debate as in him getting stick because the team are not as good. You know, Liverpool had an enormous drop-off. And I looked at the numbers yesterday on this, Nat. Liverpool had a big drop-off this season that's been way worse than Man City's. Man City nearly played 60 games last year, and they were in all competitions. They were in the Champions League semi-final. They weren't far short of what Liverpool, where they got to. And I keep thinking, well, there was no cost for... And you might say, well, Erling Haaland didn't play for Man City last year, and he came in, he was at Dortmund. But the team have dropped. They're not nowhere near to the level where Liverpool have fallen off a cliff. Man City have dropped. They're not quite as good. And I think Erling Haaland has joined a team that's a little bit not... There's certainly... Like Foden. I mean, it's in the paper today. You know, Guardiola talking about World Cup had a big impact on Phil Foden. Hasn't quite looked as sharp. And there's a number of others. And I think that's been City's problem more than Erling Haaland. Well,
I think for City, it's a consistency thing, isn't it? That there are moments that we'll see Kevin De Bruyne obviously be Kevin De Bruyne, but we're not seeing it every single game. Now, sometimes that's because they're not playing. They're not picked to play, and we know that Pep Guardiola does change things around. But there is a general consistency thing, I would say, is a big issue with City. They're just not getting the week in and week out performances that we'd expect.
Yeah, and look at Bernardo Silva's numbers from this season to last. Look at Gundogan's numbers from last season to this season. And it's a common theme that quite a few of them are dropped slightly. And with that being slightly in with a number of players causes a bigger problem. They're not quite as good. And they could easily return to that sort of form because they've got such a talented group of players. And I think he's just joined a team that's a little bit on the wane. That, don't get me wrong, they are going to be... They'll resurge again, City. I really believe that. I'm far more confident of them than I would be of Liverpool.
As in this season?
This season, I think they'll find their form this season again. But I don't see Erling Haaland as a problem because we all know what he's good at. And yes, they play... I heard Ali and Andy Townsend talking midweek about, City's style, which is very different. And he is so used to running onto things. And at times they found it. But when teams hit really, really deep and they just end up passing, there has been times they've looked a little bit like Spain were in the World Cup, just overpassing a little bit too much.
You're saying that. I mean, you do see it. You see that he tries to make these runs. Yeah. He's moving around all the time. Obviously, he's trying to create space for himself. He's trying to find these little inlets, if you like, to try and then hopefully have those balls that he can run onto. Does it take time for that to work in terms of everyone needing to work out how we bring him into play more? Or can it just, like that, you can click it and it's just, for whatever reason, it's not clicking, but most of the time you know the strengths of a player so you can just work at it from the off? Or does it just take time because you've got to build up that relationship?
Well, City don't just throw things down your neck. They don't just go... They try that killer pass all the time. They don't like giving away possession. And with that, when they do, the biggest thing they do brilliantly well, City, is that they play with purpose all the time. And in a moment, yes, Kevin De Bruyne can produce a pass, Bernardo Silva and others. They can do that. But they generally keep the ball more than lose it. That's how they win football matches so often. They've given some bad goals away this year. Like we talk about overplaying from out of defensive. I've seen Rodri do it a couple of times. Right. These are all very good players. And I think sometimes I just look at Haaland and I think he's just not going to be like he was at Dortmund where the whole focus was on him. They have different focuses in the City team. Yeah. But he still will get goals. He will still have an incredible record.
And like you say, 32 goals he scored this season, Cass, which is just phenomenal. 32 goals in 32 appearances. How we can still be saying, oh, yeah, but he doesn't take enough touches in the box, or he doesn't do... it just makes me think, wow. what is it that we're really expecting? We're expecting this superhuman person that is, every now and then is going to have a drop-off. Every now and then is going to go through moments. I mean, it's 1 in 6. That's the current form that he's on right now. But you look back at that start of the season where he was just scoring goals for fun, relentlessly.
I'm astounded that we all react. And I have to sort of give myself a kick up the backside sometimes. I remember my best year was 36 goals. In my whole 18-year career.
Wow.
He's got 32 and it's just end of February.
Yeah.
Right? That's how... And mine was a different level to where he's playing. He's playing in the top flight. I wasn't playing that. That was my best year. And I keep thinking, well, if you're going to get stick and you're going to probably end up with 40-plus goals, where does that leave the rest of us?